Good morning, students. I hope so. Everyone is good and everyone is fine. So, we have done the entire chapter from economics, that is chapter number 3, money and credit. So, today we are going to summarize the entire chapter for you, and we are going to talk about each and every topic again, not in detail, just like we will have a discussion about what were the topics that we have discussed and what are the main particular points on those topics. So this is going to be your summary lecture, chapter number 3, money and credit, class 10, subject economics. So let's get started with the lecture now. So first of all, the main and important topic about this particular chapter is money. What does money mean to one person? Like how it is related to our day-to-day life, how can we exchange this particular thing to buy and sell the thing. So what is the basic importance and what does money, how can we relate money into our day-to-day life. So you have probably never thought very much about money, that it could just create the entire life for a person out there. It is just there around you and you can see that the entire world surrounds only because of this money related things only. So when you want or need something, you simply collect some money out of it and pay for it, or you can buy, you can take these particular things in return of some services as well. So this is also treated as money only. So in your daily life, there will be many transactions that we particularly do to buy the things in exchange of money, and sometimes we exchange services as well as being exchanged with money. So basically the role of money here is really important. Why? Because money is the only thing where you can actually buy or sell things. Like on our day-to-day life, what are the transactions we do? We always pay for something which we want to buy, or like your parents go for work, they go for their jobs or any business they have. So particularly what they deal in money only, where they are providing that particular company their services, and in exchange of that they are getting paid off. So basically the role of money in everyone's life is really important here. So basically money, how money is important in one person's life. So the use of money is a very large part of everyday life. If you look around, you could easily be available and identify all the transactions that we do with money. So what is basically how you can define it. So if you have to define this particular term, you can write it down like a current medium of exchange in the form of coins and banknotes, and the items are verifiable record that is generally accepted as payment for goods and services, and repayment of debts also in a particular country or social economic context, or is easily converted to such a kind of a form. So basically it's the current medium form of exchange in the form of coins and banknotes, and all these items are verified, basically they are verified by the government here and as accepted as the payment for all the goods and services that we take and give, and it is a kind of a repayment also sometimes of debts in a particular country, and it is easily converted into such kind of a form where the main function of money is medium of exchange, unit of account, a store of value, a standard of deferred payment, and any item or verifiable record that fulfills these functions can be considered as money only. So money plays different roles in different lives. So it could be a medium of exchange where you are giving your goods and services to one another. Then it could be a unit of account, like you can create your account where you can submit your money where there is safe. There is a store of value. So basically wherever you are storing this particular money, it is going to have a good value out of it. And sometimes there is a standard of deferred payments as well. Deferred payments are basically all the loans that you have taken. So it could be a medium to give away that particular thing in terms of deferred payment. Now moving forward, so how money plays a medium of exchange in one person's life. So the use of money spans a very large part in our everyday life. There are several transactions that involve money and are made in any single day possible. So if you see around you, there is a large part of our everyday life we go through these money transactions. There are several transactions that we go through. It involves money as the main lead there. So all these goods that you brought are, or you can sold as well with the use of money, and the services are being exchanged with money only. So here money plays a medium exchange where you can give away your services as well in exchange with money. Then goods are also brought with the promise to pay money later. So now here you can also brought the goods also with the promise to pay the money later. So in these ration shops, or if you have a goodwill with another person out there, so sometimes people what do, they take the item from them and they give them the assurance that they will pay the money later. So they have their particular khata in that particular shop where they pay that particular person monthly or in 15 days, like this way. So they particularly give a promise to them that they will pay the balance of the amount later on. Now money is also sometimes paid in as advance with the promise of delivery of goods later. So money is also sometimes paid as advance also to some persons to deliver the goods later. So like currently that we do this online shopping or online things that we buy, food we buy. So here sometimes we pay in advance to them, and like this way we can promise that they can deliver the goods later on. So where many times when we go to this online shopping things, many times we pay in advance to them, so that after a few days they will give us our item and they will deliver us into our homes. So as the particular need for a medium of exchange, it becomes a necessity. Different materials were used as a medium of exchange. So for every other person, this medium of exchange is different, and it is a quite necessary thing in our day-to-day lives, in every person's life basically. Now there is another topic that every person should know about, the problem of double coincidence of bonds. So you must be aware about the barter system here. So what does barter system mean? In the older days when modern currency was not in vogue, not famous enough, so people had to sell and buy each other's communities. So here this is what the barter system is all about, where you do have some sort of assets with you or some kind of things with you, where you want the other kind of things which the other person is having. So here the situation lies that the other person should also want that particular thing that you have. So if you both accept to exchange those particular items with each other, that is the double coincidence of bonds, where both the parties are interested in each other's item which they are exchanging. So that's where the double coincidence of bonds come. But if it doesn't, if one particular person wants and the other doesn't want, so here both the parties first have to agree. If they are not agreeing, they can't exchange the particular item with each other. So here they are saying the same thing. For instance, if a shoe merchandiser wants to buy wheat, and he has to find a farmer for that who wants to buy his particular shoes in exchange for his wheat. So basically if there is a shoe manufacturer who wants to buy wheat, तो उसको wheat चाहिए, but what तो उसके लिए वो क्या देखेगा कि wheat कौन बेचता है पहले तो एक उसे वो farmer ढूंढेगा. Then when he is able to find a farmer, he will make sure that he wants to buy his shoes or not in exchange of that particular wheat. So that's the double coincidence of bonds and barter system is all about. So here both the parties have to agree to sell and buy each other's communities, and this is known as double coincidence of bonds. And same way in the barter system also, where goods are directly exchanged without the use of money, this double coincidence of bonds is an essential feature that is add-on to this barter system, where you are not exchanging money, you are exchanging the items, the assets that you have in exchange of the things that you want. So what does this double coincidence bond means? I hope so everyone is clear with this, and barter system as well. Now, what does barter system mean? So, if you have to define what is barter system, you can write these points. If it comes in a 5-mark question, you can elaborate these points. The maximum you can do that, you can elaborate these points with the double coincidence of bonds here. So, a barter system is an old method of exchange. It's a kind of very old method of exchange where the system has been used for centuries and long before money was invented. Here, people exchange services and goods for other services and goods in return. So, what in short that particular line says that people exchange their goods and services for other services and goods in return what they actually want. So, this is known as barter system. Now, we are going to talk about currency. Okay, so now we are going to talk about currency. How this modern forms of money is being established, how they are known right now, and what was the previous currencies that we use as a medium of money or as exchange of money here. So these modern forms of money is include currency including paper, notes and coins. So the current currency that we are using in India, there are certainly paper notes that we use and coins, but the modern currency is without its own use. Why we say that the modern currency is without its own use? Because in the previous time, like before all these notes were introduced or all these coins, new coins were introduced, they were using these metal kind of coins. They were using this gold coin, silver coin and metal kind of coins before that. So that was the kind of a thing that having its kind of use, उसका यूज होता था, उसको एज अ मीडियम ऑफ एक्सचेंज माना जाता था, उसको संभाल के रखा जाता था. That is something they want to collect. But here, this modern currency is without its own use because you are exchanging. You are using it as a medium of exchange only. So here, the majorly it doesn't have its own use. It is basically a kind of an exchange thing that you are doing to buy or sell the things. In India, the Reserve Bank of India is the one who issues these currency notes on behalf of the central government here. So RBI is one of the one here in India who is issuing these currency notes on behalf of the central government. So you must be knowing that till 2017 we were using a different kind of currency of these. There was 1000 ka note, 500 ka note was different, but now they have introduced a new kind of currency and that is the official currency which was introduced by the RBI only. So in Indian rupee, widely is accepted as the medium of exchange and it is accepted also as the medium of exchange because the currency is authorized by the government of the country here. So no other individual or organization is allowed to issue currency here. So basically, if any other person comes with his country, so he have to exchange that particular currency with our own currency to utilize it in India. So basically it is accepted as the medium of exchange in our country only because the currency is authorized by the government of our country and each other countries are having their own currency that they are using. So हर एक country की अपनी एक पहचान है, अपनी currency है which they use, and if you have to go to that particular country, you have to exchange your currency with their currency. Now these are the different countries and different currency that they are using. So the USA use dollar, Britain use pound sterling, Canada use Canadian dollar, Singapore use Singapore dollar. You can see here what does it look like. Like in China they use Chinese yuan, renminbi. Then Japan use Japanese yen, Australia use Australian dollar and Sri Lanka use Sri Lankan rupee. So they also known as rupee only, but their name is Sri Lankan rupee there. So you can note down these things and you can see how they actually look like. So if you ever travel into from foreign countries, you must be knowing that what kind of currency they use and how they look like. Now we are going to talk about another topic that is very important: deposit money in bank. So basically, whatever cash that we are earning as the money and whatever currency we are having, most of the people don't sustain the entire money as cash with them. They actually keep a small proportion of it as cash for their day-to-day activities, and the major portions, what they do, they deposit that into their bank accounts, whichever bank they want to have their account in. So basically, people need only some currency for their day-to-day needs here, and people deposit the extra money with the banks by opening a bank account with their name on those particular banks here. So here the bank accepts all these particular deposits and also pay an interest rate on those particular deposits as well. Now in this way, people's money is very much safe, and with that the bank is giving them to earn some interest rate also if they are depositing a good amount, and they are basically some give 3 months interest, some give 6 months interest. So and basically the interest rate is around from 3% to 8%, that the interest rate they can give, bank are giving them or to the depositors here. So people also have the provision to withdraw the money and when they require. So here if you are depositing, it doesn't mean that you can't withdraw it. So whenever you want to withdraw any sort of amount, you can go to the bank and withdraw that amount whenever it is required, since the deposits in the bank account can be withdrawn on demand. Now here you can withdraw that particular amount, particular cash on demand. So that's why these deposits are known as demand deposits as well, where there is a facility you can deposit also and you can withdraw that particular amount also at any point of time according to your requirement. Now we are going to talk about another main kind of a modern technique of money that we use. It is check. So basically check is one of the reliable things that people use to exchange of these money kind of a thing. So here a deposit in a bank offers the customer the facility of issuing checks as well. So where your parents must be having their bank accounts, they must be having an ATM, a checkbook as well. If you haven't seen it, you can tell your parents to just let you show that particular checkbook, how it looks like. So basically every bank offers the customer the facility of issuing checks, and basically a check is a kind of a paper where you are instructing the bank to pay a specific amount from his account to that person account where you want to send that particular amount to. So you will sign that particular check with his name on the top, and you will make that particular check without any transaction of cash here. So the recipient of the check can deposit it in his own account in his bank. So he can go to his bank and show this particular check where that particular amount will be exchanged. From this transaction will be exchanged from bank to bank here. So there will be no exchange of cash here. So the money is transferred from one bank account to the another bank account in a couple of days. So basically they take 2 to 3 days in exchange of this money transaction. So this transaction is completely without any payment of cash here. It is transferring from one bank account to the another bank account, and this is a very safe mode of transferring money and avoiding the possibility of any sort of theft here. So it is the safe mode of transferring the money without the exchange of any cash. The amount is exchanged and the transfer is exchanged through these bank accounts only. You can see here how this particular check looks like, where in the corner you can see there are 2 lines that they make. So they cross this particular check when they exchange that particular, when it is done, like the payment, the transaction is done. So they they cross that particular check to make that particular account payable only. So payable only means that you are paying that particular bank only, not to any other person. So here that date is compulsory, the amount in words and in numbers, both are compulsory here, and in below the signature, and that is very important. जो account holder होता है, he do that his particular signatures there, and in the pay amount जिसको आपको पे करना है उसको होल्डर का नाम या तो उस बैंक अकाउंट जिसमें वो डलवाना चाहते हैं. Now loan. So loan is also one of the major things in the money transaction. But here the different thing is that you are taking the money with the promise or assurance of something else. So a loan is a kind of a lending of money here from one individual or organization or entity to another individual, organization or entity here. So a loan here is a kind of a money that you lend to some other person or organization. It can be any entity, it can be. So basically you are lending the money to another person with some assurance of like taking there some asset collateration, and you are putting a rate of interest which the person who is lending the amount will be getting. So a loan is a kind of a debt which provided by an entity or an individual to another person at an interest rate which will be the extra amount that they will be giving to the person who is lending the money. मतलब अगर 25,000 आप उनसे ले रहे हो और वो उसके ऊपर 20% ऑफ रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट लगा रहे हैं, तो उस अमाउंट के एक्स्ट्रा में आपको 20% उस अमाउंट का 20% एक्स्ट्रा देना पड़ेगा. And basically they take an evidence also of a promissory note which specifies among other things and the principal amount of money borrowed, the interest rate the lender is charging, and the date of repayment as well. Is everything is mentioned in that particular document. So they give that particular loan on the guarantee of something, and which it is written also. There is a document that is being made, and in that note it specifies each and everything, like the principal amount of money that they are borrowing, the rate of interest that their lending is charging, and the date of repayment. So a loan that they are taking is really important here. Like it involves each and everything here: the lender, the borrower, the asset that they are keeping, the interest of rate. So each and everything should be mentioned in this particular when you are taking a loan. Now these loan activities of banks. So you know about now everything: the depositors, the borrowers, the loan activities, the bank के बारे में. But now whatever money that we are depositing in bank or we are taking it from the bank, so how these activities involved in the bank, how they do, how they keep like giving the particular amount to people, and what the kind of use they do with this particular money here. So banks keep a small proportion of their deposits as cash with themselves to pay the depositor who might come to withdraw that particular money from the bank on any given day. So here the kind of money that they are, all the depositors are depositing, तो उसका जो स्मॉल प्रोपोर्शन होता है वो अपने पास रखते हैं, एंड उसका मेजर जो होता है पोर्शन जो होता है वो उसको एज अ लोन की तरह लेंड कर देते हैं. So if any depositors come to withdraw their money, they are having a specific amount of money as a cash with them, so they can जो भी आते हैं withdraw करवाने के लिए उनको दे सकें. And majorly the bank uses the major portion of the deposits to exchange their loans. तो उसको एक लोन की तरह वो मोस्टली borrowers को दे देते हैं. So in this way banks is the mediate between those who have surplus funds, basically the depositors, and those who are in need of these funds, which are the borrowers. So banks charge a higher rate of interest on loans than what they offer on deposits. So basically they charge a very high rate of interest on basically loans. So if like you are taking a loan and they will be lending the loan to you at 12% of interest, so the borrower have to pay that particular interest rate to the bank, where the bank pays the interest rate to the depositor in a very less interest rate. So they give it like 3 to 4%. So here if they are taking 12% and they are giving 4%, so rest जो उसका बच जाता है, that is 8%, they that is the kind of earning that is they are having. So the difference between what is charged from the borrowers and what is paid to the depositors is their main source of income which they are earning. So that's how this particular loan activities work in these banks. Now what are the two different credit situations? So in your book also there are two different credit situations that has been given to you. So what are the basic credit situations here? The first is basically credit loan. It refers to an agreement in which the lenders they supplies the borrower with money, goods or services in return for the promise of future payment. So here are two examples which help you to understand how these credit works. So we will talk about these two different situations here. First one is the festive season. So in this case, for the person who is basically main one is the Salim, who obtains credit to meet the working capital needs of the production. So basically he obtains a credit to meet the working capital needs of the production. So he is maybe doing some agriculture activity and for that he needs some working capital, मतलब जो भी चीजें लानी होती है प्रोडक्शन में या बनाना होता है, that is known as working capital. So the credit helps him to meet the ongoing expenses of production here, complete production on time and thereby increasing his earning also. So basically he is doing all the expenses of his production on the credit that he has basically taken. So the complete production was on time and he have his own earnings as well. Profit he has also earned. So in this situation, the credit helped to increase his earning and therefore the person is better off than before. So here the credit has given a lot of happiness into his life because he has earned a lot of profit out of it. मतलब वो उसने repay भी कर दिया loan और उसको उससे profit भी बहुत मिला. So here in this particular situation, the credit is the one which helps him to increase his earning and therefore the person is better off than in the before situation he was having. Now we will talk about the another situation which is Swapna's problem. So in Swapna's case, the failure of the crop made the loan repayment impossible. So here Swapna thought that if she would obtain a good amount of crops, so he could repay that particular amount that she has taken from these banks. But the failure of this crop made the loan repayment more impossible, and when she have taken the loan second time, so that she can repay the first loan, so it became more impossible because again also that particular thing is spoiled. So she had to sell a part of the land to repay the loan. So here she have to sacrifice a part of its land area to repay the particular loan that she have taken. So the credit, instead of helping Swapna has improved to improve her particular earning, left her worse off. So basically here the credit situation has made it even worse situation for Swapna here, because उसको लगा था कि उससे वो कुछ कमा पाएगी, बट वो कमाने की जगह उसको अपना लैंड तक एक लैंड का हिस्सा भी उनको सेल ऑफ करना पड़ा. So this is the example of debt trap here, where the credit in this case pushes the borrower into a situation from which the recovery is very painful, and whether credit would be useful or not, it depends on the risk in the situation and whether there is some support in case of loss or not. So if you are taking a particular loan, you should know about your situation and you should know about each and every kind of condition that you are having. So if it should not become a kind of a painful thing for you where you have to sell off your things. So please, if you are taking any sort of loan, it should be reminding of each and every situation that you are having. Now there are certain terms of credit as well that are relied on these particular loans. So basically every loan agreement specifies a rate of interest which the borrower must pay to the lender along with the repayment of the principal here. So here every loan that a person is lending on, there could be home loans, there could be education loan, personal loan. So every kind of loan which is there is a particular agreement which specifies a kind rate of interest that the borrower have to give, and repay to the bank. So there are certain terms and conditions that have been written on that particular agreement, and when they are going to repay that particular amount also. So in addition, the lenders also demand collateral, which is security against these loans. So not only these rate of interest and everything. Now if they are giving you some sort of amount, obviously they need some security that you are going to repay them. So this security is known as collateral. So collateral is basically known as security which you give against the loan that you are taking. So it could be anything. So this collateral security is an asset that the borrower owns. So basically any kind of asset that you are having which you particularly own, that could be your home, the office you are having, any sort of vehicle that you are having, is your asset. So you can use it as a security or collateral. So basically here they have given the example of land, building, vehicle, livestock, deposits with bank. Everything has a rate of collateral here, with uses this as a guarantee. They are giving this as a guarantee to a lender until the loan is repaid to them completely repaid to them. So if the borrower fails to repay the loan, the lender have all the right to sell off their assets as collateral to obtain their particular payment. Now interest rate. Basically they keep all these things in the terms of credit here. Interest rate, collateral and documentation requirement, everything is done, and after that only the mode of payment is given to them. So where all these things are written and these are established, these are mainly the terms of credit that are mentioned there, and it may be very demanding also on the nature of the lender and the borrower. So if the lender is demanding, it can be the lenders can ask you any sort of services. So they can when you are signing that particular document, they can put these particular things also in that particular document. But the banks, basically banks are not the one who take services out of the loan that they are giving. Now there are three different credit agreements that has been given to you. So these are three examples. So we have discussed about these particular things as well, these agreements. So here the first agreement tells about a small farmer who borrows the money from an agreement. So just leave these agreements. We can talk about the agreement that is given in your book. So you can open up page number which is page number 46. So here the first situation that is given to you is about Shamir, that tells us that every season he needs loans for cultivation on his 1.5 acre of land till a new years back. So he would borrow money from the village money lender here at the interest rate of 5% per month, which is 60% per annum. And for the last few months, Swamal has been borrowing from an agriculture trader in the village at the interest rate of 3% per month at the beginning of the cropping season, which is 36% per annum, and at the beginning of the cropping season the trader supplies the farm inputs on credit, which is to be repaid with the crops as that are ready for harvest. So beside the interest charged on the loan, the trader also makes the farmer promise to sell off the crops to him. This way the trader can assure that the money is repaid promptly. So also, since the crop prices are low after the harvest, the trader is able to make a profit from buying the crop at a low price from the farmer and then selling it later with the price has risen. So here in this situation, the farmer is borrowing the money from a money lender and he is an agricultural trader as well. So the rate of interest that particular person has lended is 60% per annum. But when that particular person is borrowing it, so he have to pay 3% per month at the beginning of the every cropping season there. And when he have to repay that particular amount, तो उसने उस agreement में कुछ services भी लिखवा दी उससे, जिसमें उसको अपने crops, अपने fertilizers भी उसको देने पड़ेंगे with this rate of interest that he has put into. So basically the trader not only gets an interest rate on his loan, but that particular person also earn a huge profit after selling the crop at a higher price there. Now in the second situation, it is given, we next meet Arun, who is supervising the work of one farm laborer, and Arun has 7 acres of land. So he is one of the few persons in Sonpur to receive bank loan for cultivation, and the interest rate on the loan was 8.5% per annum. The loan can be repaid any time within the 3 years, and Arun plans to repay the loan after the harvesting of and selling the part of the crop. He then intended to store the rest of the potatoes in the cold storage and apply for the fresh loan from the bank against the cold storage recipe, and the bank offers a facility to farmers to have taken crop loans from them. So basically here in this situation, the farmer is borrowing the money from bank, and they are keeping the rate of interest which is 8.5% per annum. Then the loan, they can repay it in 3 years, and the farmer have enough time to plan it out how he want to sell it, from how he can repay the amount with the particular earning of his own. So here he have a particular plan where he can repay also on time, and he can earn a good amount for himself as well. So this kind of situation is very favorable for both the parties. Now in the third one, Rama is working in a neighborhood field. She works as an agricultural laborer. There are several months in the year when Rama has no work, no need, and need of credit to meet the daily expenses. So expenses are sudden illness or functions in the family are also met through these loans. So Rama has to depend on her employer, a medium landowner in Sonpur, for credit, and the landowner charges an interest rate of 5% per month, which is 60% per annum, and Rama have to repay the money by working for the landowner there. So most of the time Rama has to take a fresh loan before the previous loan has been repaid. At present she owes the landowner rupees 5,000. Through the landowner doesn't treat her well, she continues to work for him because of the particular loan that she had taken. So that's the situation here, where she have to work according to her with condition that she is into. So these are the 3 different kind of credit agreements that people can lend on, and which is kind of beneficial here, which is that person who has taken the loan from these banks. Now the working of cooperatives, and people take loan from these cooperatives only. So how these cooperative societies work as a loan lending thing in these rural areas. So beside these banks, the other major source of cheap credit in rural areas are these cooperative societies, or we can say them cooperatives. Basically these cooperatives are the members of few of the people who are main leaders out there. So they can establish their membership with one community or one cooperative society, where they all these farmer cooperatives, vapor cooperatives, industrial worker cooperatives are there. They have their own kind of groups and societies. So basically if you want to know about the example, there is Krishak cooperative. So here the Krishak cooperative functions in a village not very far away from Sonpur. It has 2300 farms as members, 2300 farmers as members, and this cooperative accept deposits from its members using the deposit as collateral, and the cooperative obtains a large loan from the bank, and the loan amount received from the bank is used as funds to provide loans to these particular members. Once these members repay the loan, the amount is repaid to the bank, and a fresh loan is they can also take from the bank as well. So this cooperative provide loan to its members for the purchase of agriculture implements, loan for cultivation and agriculture trade, fishery loans, loans for construction of houses, and a variety of other expenses. So these cooperative societies help each of the members who are part of these cooperative societies. Now we'll talk about another main topic, that is the formal sector credit in India. So how these formal and informal sectors of credit work in India. So the formal sector are basically the banks, the government banks, or any sort of private banks also, which are supervised by the RBI here. So they are the various type of loans that we can be conventionally grouped it as formal sector loans and informal sector loans. Among these, the informal lenders are the money lenders, the traders, employers, relatives, and friends. And the Reserve Bank of India is the one who supervises all the functioning of formal sources of loan. Like for example, if you have to take, we have seen also the banks that have to maintain a minimum cash balance out of the deposit that they receive, and the RBI is the one who monitors these particular banks in actual maintaining the cash balance here. Similarly, the RBI sees that the bank gives loan not just to profit making businesses and traders but also to small cultivators, small scale industries, small borrowers, etc. So here the bank have to submit information to the RBI on how much they are lending to whom and at what interest rate they are keeping it. So there is no organization which basically supervises the credit activities of lenders in the informal sector. They can lend at whatever interest rate they choose, and there is no one to stop them from using this unfair means to get their money back. Now if you have to compare the formal and formal credit situations in India, so comparing to the formal lenders, most of the informal lenders charge a much higher rate of interest on loans, and the cost to the borrower of informal loan is much higher than any formal situation can have. So higher cost of borrowing means there is a larger part of their earning that they have to give to these borrowers, which they use to repay the loan, and hence the borrowers have less income which is left for themselves. तो उनके पास बहुत ही कम अमाउंट बच जाता है लोन पे करने के बाद जिससे वो अपना घर चला सके. So in certain cases the high interest rate for borrowing can mean that the amount to be repaid is greater than the income of the particular borrower, and this could lead to increasing debt also. So and they can actually lend into some debt trap as well. So people who might wish to start an enterprise by borrowing will not do so, because if this high cost of borrowing from these money lenders, they are going to be in a very big debt trap. So for these reasons, banks and cooperative society need to lend more, because this could lead to higher incomes, and many people could then borrow cheaply these cheaper loans, and they can also grow crops and do their businesses, set up these small scale industries, etc., and they could set up new industries and trades at a very cheap and affordable credit situation which could be there in the country. Now we will talk about another main topic, which is self-help groups. So how these self-help groups work? So basically in the previous section we have seen that the poor households are still dependent on informal sources of credit. Why it is so? Because banks are not present everywhere in rural India. So even when they are present, getting a loan from the bank is much more difficult than taking a loan from these informal sources. So a typical CSG has 15 to 20 members using belonging to one neighborhood who meet these and save it regularly. Saving basically depend on the members. It could be from 25 to 200 or more, and the group charges interest on these loans, but this is still less than what the money lenders charges. And after a year or two, if the group is regular and saving, it becomes eligible for availing the loans from these banks. And loan is sanctioned in the name of the group, and it meant to create self-employment opportunities for the members as well. They can get the time to repay the loan. These groups are the building blocks of organization of the rural India. Now, wait a minute, we'll talk about this first. So in recent years, people have tried out some newer ways of providing loans to the poor. The idea is to organize rural poor, in particular women, into small self-help groups and pools. Basically the collectors who are doing their savings. So a typical self-help groups has 15 to 20 members, usually belonging to one neighborhood, who meet and save it regularly for these members. Saving per member varies from 25 to 100 rupees or more, and members can take small loans from these groups itself to meet their needs.
Members can take these small loans from the groups itself to their needs, and the groups charges interest on these loans, but this is still less than what these money lenders charge. And after a year or two, if the group is regular in saving, it becomes eligible for availing loans from the bank. Loan is sanctioned in the name of the group, and it meant to create self-employment opportunities for the members. This helps borrowers to overcome the problem of lack of collateration, and they can get timely loan where they are building blocks of organization of the rural areas. Now the last topic, that is the Grameen Bank of Bangladesh. So Grameen Bank of Bangladesh is one of the biggest success stories in reaching the poor to meet their credit needs at reasonable rate. Started in the 1970s as a small project, now has over 6 million borrowers in about 40% villages spread across Bangladesh, and almost all of the borrowers are women and belonging to poorest section of the society. These borrowers have provided that not only are poor women are liable borrowers, but they can start and run a variety of small income generating activities successfully. Professor Mohammad Yunus was the founder of this Grameen Bank and the recipient of 2006 Nobel Prize for Peace. Now, one more thing that you should know, that what does debt trap mean. So if you have to write this answer, you can write these points. It is a situation in which a person takes a loan and due to unavoidable circumstances, he is not able to repay his loan. So now he faces a difficult situation, has to take a tough decision. Either he has to borrow a fresh loan or he has to sell some part of his property to repay that earlier loan here. Now there is one more thing that you should know, that is chit fund. So what does chit fund mean? So chit fund means a fund that is set up for the collection of small savings of these, basically how these self-help groups work. So they have a chit fund, which is a fund that is set up for the collection of small savings of the people who earn on daily basis, like chai wala, pan wala, etc. And these people can save rupees from 10 and to rupees 100 on daily basis and deposit in this fund. The money collected is invested in the shares of debentures of the companies or in the government bonds, and the return earned on these investment paid back to the investors after deducting the administrative charges of managing these particular funds. Now the homework I want to assign you, first of all, tomorrow there is no, I'm not going to take any online class. Tomorrow is going to be your test that you have to give. So the test is from the geography chapter number 6. So please be prepared for your test. And another thing that you have to do the exercise question from 10 to 13 in your practice notebook, and you have to show it to me. So that is your homework, and please be prepared for your test, which is going to be held tomorrow. So all the best, and that's it. You can ask me any queries related to the test or this particular thing from me in the online class. Okay, so that's it for this lecture. Thank you so much for listening.